Peace and blessings be upon you all. It has come to that time here. We have sworn in our new hard-working Lord Mayor, Councillor Mike Rowley, and so my time as Lord Mayor is completed. Woohoo! It has been the honour of my life to serve our city, where I am born and raised, and feel blessed to be able to give back. As the first citizen of this fine city, I've had the most amazing and extraordinary year. Thank you. We all know this city is a great place to live, but during my year as Lord Mayor, I encountered such generosity and caregiving from so many charities and organisations. They offer so much support to the community across the city. It makes me so proud, and I know I wouldn't live anywhere else. I have broken some barriers, being the first woman of colour, the first Muslim woman of the intersectional background, and the youngest Lord Mayor of Oxford. I am proud to be a trailblazer for equal representation. This achievement underscores the importance of embracing diversity in all of its forms and promoting inclusivity in leadership roles. During my year, I had the great honour of meeting the Princess Royal and Duke of Edinburgh during their visit to Oxford. Thank you to those who wholeheartedly headhunted me by giving me 2 awards, the She Awards and more recently the Nelson Mandela Leadership Award at the Save Business School, Oxford University. I want to send a huge thank you to all of our communities who have invited me to their events and gave me so much respect, and especially to those who believed in me. And a special shout out to our volunteer sector and organisations who work so hard round the clock serving our communities. I'd like to thank my supporting charity working so incredibly hard, whether that's Humanity First UK, delivering aid in Gaza on the ground, or Oxford Community Action working towards elevating poverty from our city. To those who have been hit the hardest. Asylum Welcome, who work so hard supporting refugees and asylum seekers get the right support they need with what is available. Your contributions truly make me proud to know you. This is one of the reasons why I worked to my core, to make sure a little from my part helps those you all serve so diligently and gracefully. Thank you from all my heart. I want to thank the civic team who has been supporting me throughout the year in the best possible way at the shortest time frames. Thanks to David and Lizzie and the Democratic Services, including our Special Chief Executive Caroline and her team for supporting me with professionalism. I'd like to thank our incredible drivers for making sure I made it in time for my events. And I'd like to thank all of our councillors, including the outgoing councillors, for all their incredible hard work, and those who have supported me and shown me so much respect and kindness, especially during full council meetings and sending out tweets as my term as Lord Mayor. Thank you. Most of all, I would like to thank God for allowing me and giving me the strength to carry out my duties. Thank you to the Khalifa of our time, Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, head of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. May God be his helper always, for his unconditional prayers, and a special thanks to my amazing mum and dad, and husband, sister and brothers, and all my in-laws, and my loving children for understanding when I have been away and not been able to spend as much time with you. I'd also like to thank my consuls who have stood by me, by my side, supporting me from strength to strength. You are the real heroes. Thank you to everyone for praying for me, and to the whole team at Oxford City Council for all your support and encouragement. And also a special shout out to all the women who are the nation builders, the peacemakers and the gatekeepers. Keep going. You got this. The past year is a year I will never forget, and I thank you for giving me the greatest honour of being your Lord Mayor. The message I will leave you with is the motto, love for all and hatred for none. Thank you. Councillor Mike Rowley as the Lord Mayor for 2024-2025.
Lord Mayor, distinguished guests, fellow councillors, first of all, dear Lubna, let me congratulate you on representing the city so well during your year in office. It's been a hard year in many ways, notably with the huge sadness over the catastrophic situation in Gaza, and I've been very grateful for all of the dignity and principle you've shown in representing us all. I must admit, if you told me back in 1997, stood outside Wadham College, that some 27 years later, I'd be nominating this looming lefty student I'd just been introduced to as Lord Mayor, I would have been a bit surprised. But there's actually so much about Mike, which is a surprise, and nearly always a very nice surprise. As I understand it, actually the first surprise started from Wadham College, because they expected Mike to arrive a year earlier from his hometown of Stafford to study law, but he wasn't there, and then, calm as he like, walked through the doors exactly a year later. I'm sure that our excellent officers, Lubna's just thanked them, will keep Mike on the straight and narrow and ensure he's completely punctual for every engagement this year. Mike soon went on to become a champion campaigner, canvasser, and indeed caseworker, his day job first for Andrew Smith and then Annalisa Dodds. Mike's attention to detail is legendary, and so too is his caring nature, and so it was a natural fit when he was elected to represent Barton and Sandhills in 2010. Now, any conversation you have with Mike about a local issue will inevitably refer to examples in the communities he represents so well. His knowledge of his ward is truly encyclopedic. Not only does he know every community group and where every local resident is to be found, but he'd also know the whereabouts of pretty much every runaway cat or stray rabbit. Nobody needs next door when you've got Mike as your councillor. In Oxford, Mike's known for his love of the 3 S's. Song, swimming and socialism. He's a champion of our pools and leisure centres, in fair weather but particularly in foul, and pubgoers of Oxford can attest that no evening is complete without Mike's rendition of classic socialist anthems in a variety of languages. As Mike's former boss, Andrew Smith, observed, the Lord Mayor's solo at the carol service will hold no terrors for Mike. Indeed, he has the talent to morph Good King Wenceslas into Red Flag, or even Internationale, but the good sense not to do so. Time will tell. As our visitors will know tonight, Oxford City Councillors are a universally smartly attired and well-groomed group of people. Yet even amongst us, Mike's distinctive dress sense stands out. People across the city have opened their doors on a Sunday morning on hot days and cold, in summer and in winter, to discover Mike crawling around in his shorts and his vest to ask if there are any problems that the local Labour team can help with. One of the surprises for unsuspecting community groups this year will surely be that when Mike unrobes, even in the depths of winter, shorts and a singlet will be revealed. Mike is incredibly well read. He used to perfect the art of walking down the road reading a novel. Thank goodness for LTNs. That was a spontaneous joke, sorry. But he's also got the unusual skill that once he's read something, he tends to memorise it and is able to recount it, ideally in at least 3 different languages. My brother remembers him delighting the children in our home who know him as Uncle Mike with the Gruffalo, the words of which he knew off by heart and with the most tremendous range of accents. And we love the idea of him sharing this love of the spoken and written word with children across the city. Older ones here like me may remember Jack and Ori, but I think Mike and Ori could be a great project for this municipal year. In his role, Mike will be called upon to chair council meetings. Those of us who've experienced him will know he'll be across any agenda given to him and will also have something useful to say on almost any given topic. There was once a council meeting when, for a variety of reasons, our group wanted to share reflections on the subject of bees. Mike launched into a quite brilliant set of reflections, a sort of cross of David Attenborough and W.B. Yeats on the subject of these creatures. We found it really funny, and the irritation of councillors who wanted to move on to the next agenda item was palpable. But above all, Lord Mayor, and this is my more serious point, Mike represents so much of what is good about our city. There's never been anyone like Mike. I think he'll be the first Lord Mayor who talks openly about his neurodiversity. I remember a discussion about mental health at a council meeting and how Mike spoke with such sensitivity and such authority about his own experiences. And I also think Mike will be the first Lord Mayor for some time, and even perhaps ever, who talks about being gay, and who's, by the way, utterly resplendent at Oxford Pride. He's a true Oxford original, someone to whom kindness, sensitivity to others, and a deep-seated care about each and every person comes as second nature, particularly those who are down on their luck or who feel in some way that they're outsiders. Well, I never expected the gangly, slightly awkward left-winger in Wadham 27 years ago to become Lord Mayor. I'm thrilled that it's happening and the positive things it says about our city, and that's why I ask for your support for Mike's election this afternoon.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. I would like to invite Councillor Lizzie Diggins to second the nomination.
Lord Mayor, councillors, distinguished guests. It is my honour to second Councillor Mike Rowley for the position of Lord Mayor. I've known Mike for a number of years, not quite so many as Ed. And we first got to know each other, I think probably nearly 5 years ago now, when I joined one of the MP's offices that he also worked in. While there, I saw a man that can absolutely second everything that Ed said in his speech. He was completely dedicated to serving our city, and in fact, he has worked for standing up for residents on our city for 2 MPs, as well as being a councillor, which I think is a particularly impressive record. I mean, there is some sort of evidence of casework. He's a passionate supporter of residents, particularly on issues of housing and homelessness. I don't know anyone with as encyclopedic knowledge or as dedication to all residents of our city. And one of the reasons you can tell his dedication is because about 100 metres away, you can hear his furiously loud typing as he bashes out yet another letter, sort of presenting the views and plight of people in our city. And he's got such a strong sense of justice as well, something that I think will really serve him well in this position. And as well, when I started in the office, I realised that if I didn't know anything, the best way to find out was to ask Mike, because his knowledge about everything in our city, to do with casework, to do with how the government runs, to do with J.R. Tolkien, he knows. But we also know that Mike has a more humorous side as well. The sound of his booming laughter, I'm sure, will be familiar to many people in his room, and he's got an excellent capacity for fun and joy, as well as the capacity to laugh at himself sometimes, if the occasion demands, as he has demonstrated to us this evening. I mean, lots of swimming-related incidents are ones that I recall, some that we learned from Mike himself, some from the front pages of newspapers, such as the Daily Mail. In more recent times, I fondly recall being invited to join his Sheriff's Aunt Sally match. I hope it will go down as one of the greats, even though I think we lost appallingly, as is the tradition. Mike, I am sure, will be a judicious, fair and kind Lord Mayor. And I know he will provide the gravity that the role demands, but as he has already demonstrated to us, I know he will also provide that levity too. So I'm very honoured to be seconding Mike to the position of Lord Mayor.
Thank you. I will now put that to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. I declare Mike Rowley Lord Mayor of Oxford. Congratulations, Mike.
Councillor Mike Rowley, having been appointed to the office of Lord Mayor of Oxford City Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. Members of Council, please be seated, and everyone else. Members of Council, honoured guests, thank you. I was about to begin, Lord Mayor, and then I thought, no problem, I am the Lord Mayor. It's a tremendous honour and privilege to be elected to the Lord Mayoralty of our city. And it's a great pleasure to see so many of you here to mark this hopefully auspicious occasion. Or to enjoy the buffet and drinks afterwards. But you have to do penance beforehand by listening to me talk for 10 minutes. Let me start by thanking our outgoing Lord Mayor, Lubna Arshad. I think I can say, without fear of contradiction, that Lubna has done a wonderful job representing our city and keeping us councillors in order. As our youngest ever Lord Mayor and the first woman of colour to hold the post, she's broken barriers and she's handled every challenge with dignity, grace and good humour. Thank you, Lubna. Thank you also to Ed and Lizzie for proposing and seconding my election. I must say that back in our student days, when Ed was trying to persuade me of the superiority of sensible municipal socialism to the boozy alphabet soup of more radical groups, if he told me that one day he would nominate me as Lord Mayor of Oxford, I'd probably have said something brief and Anglo-Saxon. And yet here we are. I'll try my best to live up to your expectations with appropriate dignity, though if I do become known as the Lord Mayor in the shorts, you'll have only yourselves to blame. It's customary at this point to introduce oneself and say something about one's motivations. I was born and brought up in Stafford by the best family I can imagine, and I'm really chuffed to be able to welcome my Aunt Jill and Uncle Ray to this event. I came up to Wadton College in 1997 to read law, imagining in my teenage overconfidence that I was going to be a real star of the field. And here I had superlative tuition, access to a law library of 2 million volumes, and lectures from the people who'd written some of them. Every advantage, in fact, except aptitude and inclination. A life in a solicitor's office was, it turned out, not my idea of fun. Nevertheless, I had a great time, only some of it attributable to the effects of alcohol, and I still appreciate those who had the thankless task of lending me a jurisprudential mindset. On a personal note, I can't leave the subject without mentioning that saint and symbol of Wadden, Geoffrey Hackley. It's a terrible cliché to say that one's Oxbridge tutor taught one how to think properly, but I genuinely credit Geoff for doing that, and at the very least, he deserves a mention on this occasion. Having decided then that the famous Ciceronian paradox about being the slave of the law in order to be free held no attractions for me, I did various odd jobs while discovering that I liked the city of Oxford even more than the university, and gradually getting involved in local politics. I think the real turning point for me was seeing a couple with a young child growing up in a single room in a crowded shared house with a filthy shared bathroom, and then seeing how the city council, run by Ed among others, was able to find them a decent home. I believed then, and I still believe now, that for all its setbacks and all its compromises, local democracy has the power to transform lives and lift up whole communities, so long as we let those lives and communities themselves be our guide. In 2010, I was lucky enough to be elected to represent Barton and Sandhills, and I've been re-elected 4 times since then. I'm humbled and grateful for local people's confidence. Barton and Sandhills is special to me. The best description of it is just a good community. It's as mixed as Oxford itself, but with its own identity and spirit, perhaps even its own royalty. In this place, as Lord Mayor, I theoretically represent the King, but in Barton, I suspect I represent Sue Holden, or I would if it wasn't the fact that Sue already seems to be everywhere at once, and therefore to have no need of a representative. As the press releases say, I'm the first openly gay and the first neurodivergent Lord Mayor of Oxford. I am not, however, the first mayor with roots in Stafford. That honour goes to William Ward, mayor 1851 to 52, and again 61 to 62, whose ancestral vault can be found, I believe, in Bassett's churchyard. The core duties of the Lord Mayor to chair council meetings, which I should strive to do with impartial ferocity, and to represent Oxford's people as first citizens, which I'll try to do without necessarily getting into any underpasses or cattle pens. Nevertheless, I'll be well satisfied if I've raised the profile of the many wonderful things our citizens do and the causes they care about by the time the bell rings behind the bar of my civic year, and that which drew from out the endless deep turns again home. Oxford truly is unique, at once ancient and cutting edge, an international city, both in its population and in its impact, possibly the smallest truly international city in the world. I'm delighted to anticipate the agenda slightly to have Tiago Koresh as my deputy, who ably represents both his own Littlemore and Oxford's very numerous EU citizen population. Ours is a beautiful city, both where you expect and where you don't perhaps expect. I'm lucky that my walk into town takes me across the top of South Park, with the old core of Oxford lying below, lovely at all times, to quote, of course, Matthew Arnold, breathing from her towers the last enchantments of the Middle Age. But I'm equally fond of the view of Barton from the top of Bonny Banks, which always reminds me of some Yorkshire pit village in its own little valley. And indeed, I know Barton's heart beats with a community solidarity coming from a history less remote, but no less storied than that of the dream inspires. Here in this building, tricked out and turreted, panelled and painted, gutted and gargoyled like a municipal Gormenghast, we're reminded of our past, particularly in the council chamber, where the old mayors of the Commonwealth look down from the high walls as though challenging their successors to maintain the city's rights, and rightly so. But Oxford has a huge amount to be proud of in the present day. I think the pandemic, of all things, showed the best of us. From the community groups who carried out feats of organisation to make sure no one was left alone or hungry, and I'm looking at Sue Holden again here, to the vaccine researchers who deservedly received the freedom of the city here last year, from the local small businesses that volunteered their premises, to every individual who checked on their neighbours or delivered shopping. Oxford surged together at a time when the world seems to be conspiring to drive us apart. These are the values of a city, values of solidarity in diversity, values that are necessary where so many people come together. In the words of Jeremiah, seek the peace of the city, for in the peace thereof shall ye have peace. And although the role of Lord Mayor isn't party political, it is, as it were, small p political. The word means relating to a city, after all. And I'll make no apologies for supporting our city's vibrant civil society, our trade unions, our community groups, our local charities and small businesses and academic groups. Oxford's people continue to organise, as often as we can with the support of this council, to achieve tremendous things. This seems an appropriate moment to speak briefly about my chosen charities for the year. All of them are local, ground-up groups without a ton of resources, since I wanted to choose charities for which the limited fundraising capacity of the Lord Mayoralty could make some difference. Love Barton is a very local charity tackling isolation and low self-esteem that builds on work ongoing in Barton since 2010, which I've always been proud to support. And I've seen and spoken to people whose lives have been made so much better by their work, or rather, to put it more justly, who've made their own lives so much better with Love Barton's essential help. Seesaw is also based in my ward in Sandhills, but covers the whole of Oxfordshire, providing grief support to children and young people who've lost a parent, carer or sibling. The needs of these young people, often difficult to express, immense by the knowledge and dedication of Seesaw's small group of staff and volunteers, and their service is one I can't imagine our city and county easily doing without. Finally, Yellow Submarine provides support for people with learning disabilities and autism throughout Oxfordshire. Their ethos, which I really like, is the people they serve are members. The charity offers social clubs, activity days, holidays, and a traineeship to increase confidence and independence in their members, as well as to give respite to families and carers. There's still a huge amount that needs to be done to improve the way our society treats people with disabilities, and Yellow Submarine is an essential part of that locally. On a personal note, I may not be coming across to you as stereotypically autistic, but I never forget that I'm one of the lucky minority with a career doing something I love. Autism is still a disability, whatever one's academic or personal achievements, and I believe firmly that the rise of one is no good unless it helps all to rise. I'd like to finish by telling you a story. It's a short story, I promise, though I will have to start at the beginning of the 11th century. At that time, Oxford was suffering from the foreign policy decisions of a deeply foolish government. King Ethelred was persuaded it would be a brilliant idea to murder all our city's Danish residents, which didn't end well for anyone. But move forward a few decades, and the first person recorded as exercising the functions of Mayor of Oxford was Turkillus. That is a Latinized version of Torquil, which of course is a Danish name. I hope this can stand as an early example of the way in which, faced with difficult times and attempts to divide us, we unite and win through in the end. Today, our city faces many new challenges. After years of crisis after crisis, the pandemic, the cost of living, the evident distance of national government from everyday life, it's easy to understand why so many of our citizens are frustrated with the institutions we've been accustomed to rely on, why many I speak with feel at the same time both uncertain and impatient. But we will pull together and come through this. I believe that because I have seen throughout these difficult years what Oxford's people, communities, and indeed institutions are capable of. The values of solidarity and diversity that have created our Oxford will triumph in the end. Let us say with old Walt Whitman, "Spring up, O city, fear not, submit to no models but your own, O city." In that spirit, and with that hope, I am honoured to accept election to the Lord Mayoralty of Oxford. Is to call for the election of the Deputy Lord Mayor of Oxford. I call on Councillor Alex Hollingsworth to propose Councillor Tiago Correa.
As somebody just said, how do you follow that? Shouldn't we all just be going home? Lord Mayor, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to have the honour of nominating Tiago Correa, Deputy Lord Mayor for the next council year. Not only will he be a great representative of the people of Oxford and a great support to the new Lord Mayor, but he will, I believe, and I should have checked this with Mike, I realise now, be the first Portuguese to hold a civic office here in Oxford. I'm just pausing to be corrected. No, it's good. I better rewrite this on the fly. But that seems to me to be very appropriate. As everybody knows, Portugal is England's oldest ally, a friendship between nations that goes back to 1386. And this year marks the 50th anniversary of the Carnation Revolution, when an almost entirely peaceful uprising overthrew 48 years of military dictatorship and brought democracy again to Portugal. And most importantly of all, the 2021 census here in Oxford showed that Portuguese was the most spoken first language other than English, and that Portuguese is the fastest growing national identity. So at a time when friendship, peace and internationalism seem more important values than ever before, what better than to have as our new Deputy Lord Mayor somebody who embodies all of them? Tiago was born in 1979 and took his inspiration from both his family and from that towering figure of Portuguese socialism and democracy, Mário Soares. Tiago's grandfather was a councillor, leading his community fearlessly despite the political repression Portugal faced. Tiago's grandmother was a pharmacist who used her role to support not just the sick, but the vulnerable and the dispossessed. And Tiago must have taken some of this political instinct in his genes. He remembers discussing political manifestos with his twin brother, Miguel, who's here today, almost as soon as he could read. His first abiding memory of Mário Soares' victory in the presidential election of 1986. And it wasn't just the process of that election that captured Tiago's imagination. It was the way in which Mário Soares won that continues to inspire him and his politics. He started the race, given almost no chance of success. Had he based his decision to run on opinion polls, he would have given up. But instead, he built his campaign on faith in his beliefs, his ideals and his policies, and trusted that if he listened to the people and the people listened to him, they would in turn trust him. He was right. Mário Soares became President of Portugal, and Tiago Koresh became hooked on politics. Tiago joined Soares' Portuguese Socialist Party when he was 16 and has remained active in it ever since. He moved to Oxford about 10 years ago, following his wife Andrea when she was offered a job in the city. Tiago's working life has very largely revolved around making things with wheels. Trains, but most often and more recently, cars. Very appropriate for a city with such a connection to the automotive industry. I've already said that Tiago is a symbol of what Oxford is, a city that offers the hand of peace and of friendship to people from all over the world, and is better for it and better for them. But he is more than that. He is someone who is and will continue to be an asset to Oxford in whatever role he plays. I am proud to nominate Tiago Koresh as Deputy Lord Mayor of Oxford for the next council year.
I call on Councillor Nigel Chapman to second the nomination.
Lord Mayor, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is a real pleasure to be able to second the nomination of Councillor Tiago Koresh to be the city's Deputy Lord Mayor for the next year, and also to offer a special welcome to his wife Andrea, his daughter Camilla, and his twin brother Miguel, who is with us today. And I did just check we've got the right Koresh here before I came to the stage, and I can vouch it is the right one. But it's great to see the family and all your friends with us today, Tiago. Alex has done a great job in bringing to life Tiago and his family's commitment to public service, and its roots and his experiences growing up in Portugal. So I'm going to focus on what he's done in Oxford since he came to our city almost a decade ago. Now, anyone who works with Tiago notices immediately he is a thoughtful person who studies things hard before he comes to a decision. So when he was thinking about joining the Labour Party back in 2015, he fancied himself, I suppose, as Oxford's own Sir John Curtis. He posted his own predictions for the general election result on Facebook. Well, that was ambitious. Pollster Koresh said there would be a hung parliament. The Labour would be the largest party. But when the bombs of Big Ben sounded, the British people had some rather different ideas. And not surprisingly, Pollster Koresh's services were no longer in demand after that. So, he decided to get involved in local politics instead. In 2018, he was elected as the new councillor for Littlemore, following in the footsteps of the great Jill Sanders and working with the great John Tanner. Two better mentors you could not ask. Canvassing with him recently on a wet Saturday morning in Littlemore really brought home for me his passion for his ward and the people in it. He literally bounces around the streets, and people, whether they vote for us or not, were pleased to see him. And why? Because he gets things done. To name but two achievements, he has successfully fought to prevent families having their lives ruined by evictions and homelessness. There is no bigger champion of local bus services. He's always talking about local bus services, but never like an advocate. But he has major improvements to look forward to in the autumn after his term of morning. As Deputy Lord Mayor, he says he will champion diversity and promote the value of citizenship and local democracy for young people. I can't think of better causes than these two in these difficult times. He's already started that tonight by inviting teachers from his own former schools to be with us tonight as a symbol of that commitment. Politics seems to be, does not always recognise the understated, decent, kind contributions of its participants over the noisy and self-referential ones. In having Tiago as our next Deputy Lord Mayor, we are honouring the best in public service, delivered in a modest but determined way. And we can all take pride, Oxford is once again breaking the mould, in having a councillor of proud Portuguese roots in that role. Voia sote para voce, Tiago. E sua famiglia, no proximo anno. Apprezio lo. Best of luck to you and your family in the next year, and enjoy it.
We'll take a vote. All those in favour? Thank you. I declare Councillor Tiago Koresh elected Deputy Lord Mayor of Oxford. Congratulations, Tiago.
I, Councillor Tiago Moraes, having been appointed to the office of the Deputy Lord Mayor of Oxford City Council, declare that I take the office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfill the duty of it according to the best of my judgments and ability. Lord Mayor, member of the Council, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to express my gratitude to the Council Alex Hollingworth and Councillor Nigel Chapman for nominating me as a Deputy Lord Mayor of Oxford for this year, and to the other councillors for electing me. I also extend my thanks to my wife Andrea and my daughter Camilla for their unbelievable support in my role at the Oxford City Council for Littlemore, and now in this new position. It is both a privilege and an honour to have the opportunity to assist our Lord Mayor, Councillor Mike Rowley, in his duty for this year. I am particularly passionate about promoting democracy to the young generation and represent the diversity of Oxford as a Portuguese individual. Thank you very much.
Before we move to the election of Sheriff, the outgoing Sheriff, Councillor Mark Lido, has a few words to say.
Thank you very much. I won't take up too much of your time, and it's not traditional to Sheriff to usually say something about tradition. I will. I just want to say a big thank you for everybody. So I've been a civic holder for 3.5 years, and I want to thank Lizzie and David and all the town hall staff, especially the drivers, where I've been known to come back from various events and just quickly pop into the local pub before going home. And been seen wandering around the covered market and other places in Oxford. So again, thank you very much to Lizzie and David, and thank you to the new Lord Mayor and Deputy Lord Mayor and new Sheriff, the outgoing Lord Mayor, Deputy Lord Mayor and Sheriff, which could be me. And, so anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. And we have at least one other civic office holder here who we have indeed been to the pub with, along with our driver. We move, therefore, to the election of the Sheriff. I call on Councillor Joe Mkonge to nominate Councillor James Fry.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you to the people of Oxford for welcoming me. I was born in Africa, Zambia. That's where I spent my adulthood. And coming here to serve as a councillor for so many years, it has been humbling for me. Thank you so much. James Fry, a comrade, a brother, a friend, and a family to me. I'm humbled to propose him as a Sheriff of Oxford. He has previously been a Lord Mayor, Deputy Lord Mayor, and now a Sheriff. So all the stories we have heard today, great things have been said about him. So I'll just say briefly what I think of him and my experience with him. Probably might have wondered, I said I was born in Zambia. That is deliberate. Because James did actually visit Zambia in 1969. So the connection there, actually, James and Susanna moved to Zambia in mid-1969. And he taught at the University of Zambia to up to 1975. So he understands the tradition, he understands me, and he understands Africa as in general. Of all the stories he's taught me about Zambia, one story actually stands out. What is this story? He was an aide to Congo, so he used to teach in Zambia and frequently drive up to Congo our neighboring country by road. There was no children car seats there. So what did they do? It was driving Zande, who is in the audience today, at the back of the car in a banana cardboard. That stands out to him, to me, and actually brings in good memories. On the council, I served with him on audit and governance and planning review committee, on finance, budget, and company scrutiny panels. Why am I mentioning this? Because I was his deputy. I remember one story. He's so much a noble man and used to do everything for me. So I used to work far away, driving back and attending the audit and governance. When I mentioned the audit and governance, it's a very important meeting. That's where we have our chief financial officer, called section 105, and all the auditors. 10 minutes in the meeting, he said something that came up, and then I had to chair the meeting. I was, oh my God, I hadn't even prepared. What am I going to do? I composed myself. That's when I chaired that meeting. From that day, I started preparing for the meetings, making sure that if he moves out, I'll be able to chair the meeting. He never did that. And I was saying, did he just teach me something? James, you made me who I am. Thank you so much. I'll tell you a story, James. On the recent peace event that we attended, it mentioned Costa Rica. Don't answer. Does anyone know what special of Costa Rica is? I won't waste much of your time. Costa Rica was one of the first countries in the world to abolish the army. He shared that story, and that story has lived with me. Why? Because James stands for peace. There's peace in that country, and there's no war. Being an economist, he went further and said, imagine how much resources they are saving to divert into reducing homelessness, into farming. I was like, wow, this man is a genius. That's how it stands out from the crowd. James, please invite me to a traditional inspection of Port Meadow and its livestock. And I'm looking forward to participating in the traditional and Sally match against the Freeman of Oxford State. Hopefully, we will win. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to nominate James Fryer as the next Sheriff of Oxford.
I call on Councillor Chris Jarvis to second the nomination.
Lord Mayor, distinguished guests, ladies, gentlemen, and non-binary friends. It is a privilege to second the nomination of Councillor James Fryer to be the next Sheriff of Oxford. Now, some of you will know this already, but the role of the Sheriff is one of the more unconventional roles in the City Council, with slightly quirky responsibilities. As Councillor McConaughey has already indicated, the Sheriff has the honour of conducting the annual inspection of Port Meadow and its livestock, the inspection of the city walls, and most importantly, of course, coordinating the Sheriff's team in the annual Aunt Sally match. Now, I struggle to think of a member of this council who is better suited to carry out these somewhat quirky duties than Councillor James Fryer. Those of us who were on the council in November 2022 will, I'm sure, remember when in his capacity as our then Lord Mayor, James invited a professor of medieval German to serenade the chamber with a ceremonial horn. For those of you who weren't there, I would really encourage you to get on YouTube and watch back the video, not just for the beautiful music, but to see the look of sheer and pure joy on James's face throughout that performance. And I think that moment typifies a lot of the love that James has for the eccentricities of the city, its traditions, and all of the wonderful people that make it up. A love that I am sure he will bring in spades to his duties as Sheriff. Now, I first met Councillor Fry 3 years ago as a new member of the Finance and Performance Scrutiny Panel, aka the Fun Committee. Since then, there are some points of the year where James and I spend more time together than pretty much any other human beings spend together, as we spend hours and hours and hours in back-to-back meetings of the Council's Budget Review Group. Now, it's through those meetings and seeing James work in that capacity that it's become clear to me that he has a powerful attention to detail, an unrelenting work ethic, and an unwavering dedication to making Oxford an even better city for all the people who live in it and all of those who will come to live in it in the future. Those are qualities that I am sure that James will bring to his new role, and in light of that, I am delighted to formally second Councillor James Fry's nomination as Sheriff.
We will put it to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. I declare Councillor James Fry elected to the Shrievalty. Congratulations, James.
I, Councillor James Fry, having been appointed to the office of Sheriff of Oxford City Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. Thank you very much.
I now call on Councillor Anna Railton to propose a vote of thanks to the outgoing civic office holders.
Lord Mayor, honoured guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my very great pleasure to give the vote of thanks for all our outgoing civic office holders here today. Firstly, Mark, our outgoing sheriff, a role you filled with characteristic energy and verve, and which I'm sure you will now put to good use in other good work in the city. Secondly, James, our outgoing Deputy Lord Mayor and incoming Sheriff. who I'm sure will inspect the cows as diligently as Mark did, though I've just been told that Mark, in fact, did not inspect the cows. So, I mean, there's a low bar to clear there, gentlemen. His commitment to civic life in the city is beyond doubt and has already been talked about at great length. Instead, I will just sincerely thank him for the unwavering support he has given to our outgoing Lord Mayor, Lubna Arshad, through what has not been a straightforward year. James, quite simply, is somebody you want on your side, and I'm very grateful that he has been. Finally, to our outgoing Mayor, the incomparable Lubna Arshad. The first woman of colour to hold this role in its history, as we have heard, she has served with good cheer, generosity, great fashion sense, and some quite considerable courage. I think it is worth recognising that Lubna has had to put up with some things this year that most of us have not and will not, and she faced them down with both courage and with a smile on her face. She's also chaired increasingly difficult council meetings with dignity, fairness, and some genuinely sublime moments of comic timing, as I'm sure you agree. She has been a tireless advocate for peace, justice and fairness throughout her life, and this has very much come through in her time as Lord Mayor. Thank you, Lubna. You have done your city proud.
I call on Councillor Catherine Miles to second the vote of thanks.
I'd like to second the vote of thanks to the outgoing civic office holders, and we're recognising and thanking them today for their commitment and service to our city. First to Councillor Mark Ligo. Thank you for your energy. Everyone uses the word energy when they describe you, so being the Sheriff did provide you with the opportunity to perfect your Ansani skills, even if perhaps you didn't, but you did have that opportunity. But now you're going to be able to put those grassroots sport skills to your beloved football, so you have time for that now. To the former Deputy Lord Mayor, Councillor James Fry, I'm your councillor, and I know how well respected you are in the community, and the work ethic is the same word that I use to describe you, and others have been using that today. Where there's a public event, rain or shine, James will be there. Do you have a twin like Tina? And finally, to our outgoing Lord Mayor of Oxford, Lubna, you've really brought your unique humour and style to the chamber. It's been recognised today. You've both fully embraced this, but you've also blossomed in this role, so thank you. Your delight at being the first Muslim woman in hijab-wearing Lord Mayor representing the city has been shared by, and this delight has also provided inspiration for many women and girls in our city who recognise themselves in you, so really thank you for that. You've spoken on the importance of diversity and representation in civic office holders, both nationally. You've also been recognised globally for that, and so really we thank you for holding our city to account in this regard. Really thank you. And we thank you for your passionate leadership and contribution to making our diverse city a more inclusive city. So enjoy your free time now, and thank you for your service.
Thank you, Catherine. We don't take a vote on the vote of thanks, despite its name, because we are all thankful to our superlative outgoing civic office holders, and because we are also, I am sure, thankful that it is now time for the reception. With that, I formally close the meeting, and I would like to invite you all to join myself, the Deputy Lord Mayor and the Sheriff in the main hall in a few moments.